I'm Dr. Devin Brossard. Today, I'm going to talk about retraining the brain. Maybe not retraining the brain, simply training the brain. And we're going to focus specifically on the prefrontal cortex because, as we'll cover in great detail throughout this lecture, your brain is always training itself. They've actually done studies where they've electrically stimulated different parts of the brain, and random memories will come to people's minds, things that they didn't even realize or thought were worth remembering. The brain is recording and imprinting. So the brain is always being recorded. And the emphasis of today's lecture is basically the three things that keep a person stuck. And those three things that keep people stuck come down to stress, pain, and anxiety. And those things can stop the strongest person in their tracks. And that's what it did to me. And we're going to cover in a little bit later about my story and how I ended up being where I am right now, which is sitting downstairs in our 47-acre holistic hospital in the Dominican Republic. And the lessons I've learned over the last year to help really anyone who's looking for encouragement, support, understanding, get unstuck, get their energy back, decrease their pain and stress and anxiety, and get stronger. Because down here at the bottom, feelings, nothing more than feelings, trying to forget my feelings of love. Anyone you've heard that song by Albert Morris? Really, feelings are simply interpretations within our brain. The chemical reactions that are going on that are giving us sensations throughout our entire body. And so, like, the majority of those processes are automatic. So, and I can give an example on this one. Think about right now, like, what's your favorite food? Like, for me, hands down, it's got to be Whitey's ice cream from Davenport, Iowa, Moose Tracks. It is chocolate ice cream with fudge through it, and then caramel ribbons, and then these little peanut butter cups. And it is the most, just think about like that, getting a scoop of it. You got the perfect scoop, which is a mix of chocolate. You got a little bit of the peanut butter ribbon in there, the caramel ribbon in there. You got a little bit of the chocolate in there, and then you got that one perfect peanut butter cup. And just like think about biting down of that. So right there, if you could notice within yourself, like what's happening within your body, what's happening within your mouth. If you notice the beginning stages of saliva excretion, a little bit of mouth starting to water a little bit, that's because your thought just tricked your brain into thinking, into knowing that there was food in front of it. So, and just like that one thought could trick your systems that there's food coming when there's no food, unless you got ice cream, went and got it because of the temptation, which I'm a little jealous because it's so hot here that you can't really enjoy ice cream. It just melts so quickly. Then you can train your brain out of stress, out of pain, and out of anxiety. So then why does it seem that the majority of people are struggling with either pain, stress, anxiety, and especially in the United States, where my chiropractic clinic is in Arlington, Washington? The majority of our patients, and that's what we hear on a daily basis, this hurts, I'm stressed, I have anxiety, I have anger. And why is that? Why is it that this has become so normal? Because really, in the DR right here, the average income is $300 a month. There's a level of poverty here, which is undeniable. And however, people are also super happy. And so why is that in one of the richest countries in the world, if not the richest country in the world, the majority of emotional responses people have are negative? Why is that? And why do we feel so awful? We have so much. Why do we feel so awful? And If you look here on the slide, right there, this is where our kids do homeschool. My wife's a special ed teacher, and so she homeschools our kids down here. And so this is the second story of one of our buildings, and it overlooks over to the right is Mount Isabel. A little bit more to the right, there's the ocean you can see, and then it's just rainforest as far as I can see. And so when I look at this place, and when we first came here, the thought that came to my mind is like, this is like a modern day Garden of Eden. I mean, I'm being a Christian. I think there's so much profound wisdom in the Bible, and you go back to the book of Genesis, and when we were good, when we were in perfect commune with God, like, what did we do? Like, what did Adam and Eve do? They took care of the garden. That's what God said. God said, take care of the garden, don't eat that fruit. And so for me, rather than, it seems like most Christians go right to like, and then sin messed it all up and now we're cursed. I don't like to go there. I like to more think, what can we learn from this story? And what for me, and being the science mind that I have also, I think of our species, and our nervous system is built for survival, and it's built to survive in a natural world. And Homo sapiens, our species, has been around for 300,000 years. Like, our bodies, our species is the best at adapting in a natural environment. And well, how could I be so bold to say that? Again, being a Christian says that we're perfectly made in God's design. But on the other side of things, there are lots of other humanoid species that are all dead now. So ipso facto, we are the best. We survived. Everyone else, not so much. And there's theories, maybe the Homo sapiens, we killed off the other species. And given the fact that we tend to be negative towards anyone different than us, think of racism, sexism, that makes sense, right? However, that's kind of off the point here. The point is, if you think back in time, 300,000 years, that's the Garden of Eden was what our world was. It was all there was not buildings. There were not electricity. There was not any kind of mechanical assistance at all. Any of the technology that we have now, even 3,000 years ago, was completely different. And so I think there's a lot to be learned from that our nervous system is used to what was 300,000 years ago, and it could adapt to that naturally. And I believe that's why when you come here, the Dominican Republic, and it's a lot more primitive, a lot more minimalistic, that you see these happy people, and they're running around playing, and they have close to nothing, because it's closer to what is normal for our systems compared to our now artificial world that we lived in. So this new normal, that is technology, that is our safety that we have in place, with the tools that we have. Now our nervous system has to adapt to that, and that new normal requires work and an understanding in order to adapt to it. And when I say adapt, I mean to get stronger because of it. To me, adaptation is a word that's thrown around quite a bit, and it almost, during the pandemic, it lost its meaning, because all of a sudden, instead of let's adapt to our environment, meaning get a stronger immune system, we culturally, globally, took on a role of, well, let's just avoid, right? And which in essence is ignoring the process of adaptation, meaning getting weaker. And that's shown to be true. That's not an opinion. That's observable fact. And so, same with any other system. You don't pick up heavy weights. Your muscles don't get stronger. They get weaker. And so, understanding that basic principle in regards to our brain is, I believe, the key to being able to hack or neurohack the artificial world that we live in now, so that the things that are challenging us, putting us in a stress state, in an anxiety state, in a weakened state, can actually make us stronger. And which leads us to that the perception is reality. And we already ran through the exercise of thinking of a food and then having that cause a visceral response, an autonomic nervous system response that then begins digestion. Our thoughts and what we focus on will then change our body to the reality that it is. And so this is a good point to introduce my littler, younger, but bigger brother, Davis. And Davis ended up, he struggled through high school. He was kind of a byproduct of our modern medical system, where he was at that age where ADHD diagnoses were becoming prevalent. And so throughout elementary school, he was put on ADHD medications, highly sedated, and struggled throughout school. Ended up graduating as a super senior after high school. Took him 2 years to get through his last year of high school, and then he joined the military, and then he ended up serving 8 years in the military. He did multiple tours in Iraq, and he was military police. And when he got out of the military, he did what most people, I shouldn't say that. It seems like a lot of veterans coming out of the military struggle with some form of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and the support for them is limited to pharmacological support, anxiety drugs, depression drugs, or their own methods of self-medicating. And Davis was a self-medicator. He drank excessively, and he ended up looking to food also. So he gained, over the course of several years, 8 years, if I remember correctly. That might be misquoted there. He gained 87 pounds, and he was kind of stuck at a place in life where he was unemployed. He was living at home with our parents, my dad and his wife, and he could not find any stability in life, and he was struggling financially. Like I said, couldn't maintain a job, and just self-medicating, and stuck in this cycle of destruction. And it's important to understand for yourself and for those around you, is that whatever situation someone is stuck in, whatever negative habit that is in place, to them it's perceived as good, so therefore it is good. And so this class, if I could help free you, because it seems that people that look for more natural answers, more biblical-based solutions, more sound, scientifically grounded information, they're helpers. They want to help other people, and so then therefore it is this, this thing of like, well, you're doing this and that's not good, and I'll tell you right now, it's not going to be effective. And because for them, and you'll understand a little bit when we talk about the automaticity of the fight or flight response, is that normal they believe is good, even if they know that it's not. They believe it is. And I found myself stuck in a similar situation, which led us to in buying a 47-acre mountain in the Dominican Republic. And if you can let go of helping other people and then realize that when you help yourself, a natural byproduct as getting healthier is that everyone around you will become better also. And so, what trains our brains? What creates this normal pattern within our brains? And it is very, very simple. Thoughts, traumas, technology, toxins. Those are all on the kind of the punishment side of our brain's pattern. Have you heard the saying, you can either motivate with the stick or with the carrot? Which one's better? Depends on the person, though. Everyone has a strong opinion about it. And so the traumas, toxins, and thoughts and technology tend to be more on the punishment side of motivation and training the brain. And there's been countless studies on someone will work way harder to stop someone from stealing $100 from them than they will to earn $100. And so these are strong motivators. And adrenaline and dopamine are more of like the pleasure motivators. That feels good. I'm moving towards that. And of course, there's going to be some overlap here, right? Because technology has been shown to artificially activate the dopamine receptors and also the adrenaline receptors. And toxins has also been shown to activate the adrenaline and dopamine receptors, like drugs and alcohol. And a big trauma will give you an adrenaline response. Thoughts can give you adrenaline or dopamine response. And so understanding that the thoughts, traumas, toxins, and technology both hinge on these two systems of reward and also punishment. And that creates our normal within our brain.